Everyone enjoys receiving gifts, but there is something magical when you are able to give to others the gift that already lies inside of you, the gift of you. Whether that is giving back your time to be present and truly focused on loved ones without distractions, the giving of your talent with your skills and knowledge of teaching, creating, or encouraging, or simply the gift of friendship and compassion to those who are lonely or struggling through hard times. Joining us in the studio today is colleague BarryCarter, who is going to share his story of the seasons in his life that changed his perspective and his personal gift of giving back to those in his community. So welcome, Barry.
Yeah, glad to be here, Wanda.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time today to share your story. You have a lot going on, so I'm excited to dive into this. But before we do, give a little bit of background of where you started and what you do at Phoenix Contact, because I know you started out with the Phoenix Contact mechatronics program.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I joined Phoenix as a mechatronics apprentice. During that time, I was already working on a degree, so they encouraged me to take classes that would help me with my bachelor's degree. Eventually, during my apprenticeship, Dave Skelton, the ex-vice president, put me on a bunch of projects kind of related to what I do now. And before I knew it, I was interviewing for the position of operations analyst of production intelligence. That is a mouthful, but simply put, my job is to collect information from machines and robots.
Wow, that's incredible. So who encouraged you to look into this program that Phoenix Contact offers?
Actually, during one of my classes at Hack, I ran into Noah Green, and he worked here as an apprentice. And basically, he encouraged me to apply.
You've done so much with the program and with the company in a short amount of time. And actually, this April, your role changed a little bit.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes. So in April, that's when I started a new position, and everyone's been super patient working with me, and I have had a great team over in Germany getting me ready for this role. It's been an awesome experience. It's been a frontier role.
Yeah.
It's not really defined yet. So really anything regarding data I've been participating in or taking up, and I love the challenges, I love the obstacles, but overall it's been a great job.
Wonderful. Have you been to Phoenix Contact Germany?
Yes. As a part of my apprenticeship, actually, we went to Blumberg, and there our task was to basically learn everything about a machine, and when they shipped it here, we were responsible for building it, programming it. There was a change of plans and the machine build got involved, so we actually had the help of our German colleagues that taught us, but it was a great experience over in Germany.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's a neat experience to be able to go over and work with our colleagues in Blumberg and other areas throughout the world. So let's take a step back a little bit, because there was a time in your life before this where it's probably a little bit of a hard season for you. And was that when you were in high school or a little bit younger than that? What happened?
Basically, we were already in economic troubles during the whole 2008 crisis. It all kind of came into the head around when I was in 8th grade, heading into high school, where we lost our home, and for a period of time, all the way to junior year, actually, that's when we finally kind of got a permanent residence and got back on our feet.
Yeah, and so you were homeless for that period of time.
Yes.
And we appreciate you sharing this part of your story. What did that look like for you?
As a kid, it was kind of a mix. Sometimes as a kid, you don't know any better, but as I matured, I realized the gravity of our situation. I think that probably the worst of when it really kind of came to heal is that you're waking up in different houses, and so at school, I had to fill out a form where they asked for your address, and we were living someplace every week, just kind of getting by, or if we're not sleeping in a car. So that's when I had to call my mom on the school phone and say, hey, what do I put on the address form? I don't know. And it was a challenging experience. It was humbling, and it was all kinds of unique perspectives, because even though we were homeless, we didn't have any money. I went to Bishop McDevitt, a private Catholic school.
Yeah.
The nuns found out about our situation, and they let us go for free.
Oh.
And I made the decision not to really tell any of my classmates, so it was always kind of a weird juxtaposition of, you're in the wealth, school really for typically rich kids, and you go to a group project, they have a boat in your garage, and they're like, all right, we'll text each other because I don't have a phone. So it's like there was always kind of a weird disposition with me and the kids because I didn't want to tell anyone. I was trying to fit in as much as possible, but because of my situation, I really couldn't. But the nuns, they knew about our situation. They would always give me food. They supported me. Really the whole community. For wrestling practice, while I wrestled in high school, we couldn't pay for it. My mom couldn't even drive me because she was trying to get scrap money. And so the coaches would drive me to and from different houses because, we moved every week. Even for what I do today, I took computer science in high school. They provided me a laptop. I didn't have internet, so they gave me like a little, basically like a phone dongle.
Okay.
So like how you connect to 4G.
Yeah.
They let me do that so I could program and whenever I was at home. But even though it was a challenging time, people stepped up in the most, probably to them, in very minor ways that probably to them they didn't think was a big difference. But to me, it mattered a lot. And I always remember that going forward.
Yeah, and it's probably a little bit easier for you to sit here now and say, okay, looking back, that was a blessing to get through.
Yeah.
But at the time, 8th grade, those are some really tender years. Those are some years where, as kids, we're developing and we're really understanding the world around us and really tapping into, okay, this is my situation, but it's so much different than everyone else's situation around me. So I'm sure that, did you experience that loneliness? Was there, like, what were your feelings, or how did you get through that thought process?
I think because we're kids, we always grow up with this kind of feeling of magical protection of like, oh, that won't happen to me. Like, not me, I'm special, or that's what you think. And so each step of because it was a gradual loss. And so each step I'm thinking, this won't happen, and then it does. So it kind of hits you right in your face. And to me, one of the hardest moments was I wake up, at the time we were living in our grandma's basement. And I woke up and all these bugs were crawling on me, and really there was no place else we could go in the house, so I just go back to sleep. So it's like you weren't even above, bugs just crawling on you and you just go back to sleep. Mm-hmm. And I think what was really tough to me is as a kid, because that's all I was a child, was you're used to that. When you're upset, if you're upset enough, things change. If you cry about something, if you whine about something, someone will come and something changes about your situation. I think that was kind of the wake-up call to me back then, was where no matter how upset I was, no matter how upset I was about the things, nothing would change unless I changed it. Yeah. And it was a very hard lesson at the time, but I think there was a certain strength from that it kind of gave me the sense of self-actualization of, I need to, even if things are happening to me in modern day, that I need to attack the things. I need to handle my goals. I need to be a CEO of my life. Otherwise, nothing will change.
That's such an awesome mindset, because it can be during those times of struggle, and we've all been there. I remember a season where I was working at another job and was laid off, and that was my first time experiencing being laid off. And sure, you try and go, okay, things will work around, things will get better, or I'll find another job. But there's something mentally that a switch is flipped where it says, what did I do wrong? Or am I able to make it? Or can I do this? And I think a lot of times that at that moment, it's easy for us to want to give up. Did you want it? Did you reach that point where you're like, why am I even trying?
Yeah, because at first, I wanted to fight back. I wanted to study hard and get out of the situation. But eventually just come to realize, I'm only 15 years old. I can't bear the weight of this whole situation. I'm vulnerable. I'm just a child. And I felt like maybe I did something wrong. Yeah. I'm religious. I used to be like, I'm sorry. And instead of taking it as something happened to me, I tried to make a rhyme or reason to it. And it was just, it was suffering. I was going through something, and at times it felt dark, it felt lonely. But especially since it felt like there was no hero in this story. Yeah. People, looking back, I can see that there was lights in my life. People that, even though they couldn't really change my situation entirely, they assisted. And I think having those key roles, basically taking a village to just even get me through that, was essential.
Do you feel that time in your life was that setback? was maybe a setup for your life for now to launch you into where you are at today?
Yes, time heals all wounds, and it is a bittersweet feeling because I can remember that all the pain it caused me, and I knew even back then that it gave me a certain strength. But I always, if I could change, especially at the time, I was thinking if I could go back, even if I'd be a different person, I thought I would change this. But looking back on it, I do think it built character. It did teach me something important that I may have not. I'm stubborn and hard-headed, so maybe I wouldn't have learned otherwise. And it gave me a strength, and I had to learn. Coming out of that situation, a lot of my strength mentally came from negativity, fear of going through that again, and just telling myself, oh, you won't be like that again. You won't be in that situation again, never again. So I had to learn that, especially as my life improved, to get energy from passions and positivity, actually good things, not just fear being the basis of all your motivation.
Yeah, those are some incredible lessons to learn at such an early age. So I commend you for your strength and your durability for that. And it certainly shows today in who you are and what you do. So we both have a love for the martial arts. Share your story on how you got started with judo.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did wrestling in high school, and for an adult in wrestling, unless you're going to the Olympics or coming to become a world champ, there's really not much for you. I still compete like every year in like silly tournaments. One is called the Bald and Fat Classic for people who are washed up just to go ahead and wrestle and lose weight. But I got to judo kind of as a continuation of that. In judo, you score by basically, you're still both standing up, and you score by throwing someone, essentially. You have to throw them. If they land on their back, you win the match. If they land on their shoulder or side, it's only half a point, so you need 2 of those to win the match. And I got into it during school, my first year of school actually, and basically November 2018, I wanted to do 2 things. I wanted to get, and martial arts started, and then I wanted to participate in the community. So I started judo. At the same time, I started volunteering at Tri-County.
Awesome. And judo and martial arts, there is a really close-knit community with that type of program. So is that where you began to understand the gift of giving back through that community that you got connected with?
Well, after my experience from childhood, getting through that time, I was filled with a sense of gratitude. I think that was the main one-word lesson I took from it. It built resilience, but I felt grateful for everything I was given because I learned it could ultimately be taken away. And so leaving that situation, I felt like I owed my community because I realized what my community did for me. Even letting me into that high school for free, if that, I don't know what I would have become. Some of my closest friends that grew up with me during that time, they're not in a very good space right now because they weren't afforded the same opportunities I was. So with that kind of chip on my shoulder, I felt like I needed to give back to the community. And with that gratitude, it really stems from going through that difficult time. It taught me that's rock bottom. That is the floor. And so a lot of my issues, even in modern day, I see them as blessings. Back then, I'm stressing about survival. Now it's like, okay, I have 4 things due before the end of the week. Some of them I don't know if I'm going to complete or not. It's crazy. I'm trying to play a managerial role as well as get things done, and trying to balance it all with school. It's stressful, but these are blessings in my opinion. All my problems are blessings in retrospect to what I've been through. And I think that's why a lot of things I could tackle with a smile. And ultimately, I feel like with that kind of attitude, I feel like I want to, just how I was given opportunity, I want to give opportunity to those who are just trying to get their life back on track.
And you had mentioned in a previous conversation that we had that it truly changes your perspective.
Absolutely.
Which is key. So that's wonderful. You also are in the, you're in the Army.
Yes.
And you graduated in October, correct?
Yes, basically I ETS out the Army completely, meaning your contract ended October 29th of this year.
So will you continue to do that, be connected with the Army or help out with that community?
If I continue, it maybe after college, I'll join actually the Air Force, potentially the Air Guard in Middletown. They, every year usually, when California has a fire, they usually fly out there and put out the fire for planes.
Oh, that's amazing. So, So you mentioned Tri-County community.
Yeah.
What do you do to support that aspect or that program?
Yes, this is really my first opportunity where I've been able to give back. I feel like, and relatively the community's been helping me, so I wanted to give back. In Tri-County, I teach math and science, but primarily math to people trying to get their GED. Many of the times they're from other countries, so some of them are smart people. They just know it in another language. So some people they're educated in French and they never take an English class, so they might have a bachelor's degree in some pretty prestigious thing, but when they come here, it won't even count as a high school degree.
Yeah.
So really, it's them is once they learn English, I teach them a little bit of math, but they're on the way. Other people, one woman was from Sudan. She dropped out in 5th grade to help feed her family, and farm. So that's like the stories of where they immigrate here and they're trying to be better. They're trying to be nurses, teachers, and so forth. And I'm really trying to help them enter the professional fields. And it's really motivating because when you help someone succeed in that regard, I don't know. I remember got that first email that my first student passed her test, and I jumped out of a chair at my desk, and everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. But that was the first time I felt this super joy about being just a footnote, because they did the work.
Yeah.
They showed up, they did the work, they studied. But just being a footnote in someone's success and helping them achieve their potential, I really realized that was my passion.
Yeah, and what a great connection, because with what you experience with homelessness, and then you have individuals who are leaving their countries to come to the U.S. I can't even imagine what that feels like. So you're probably able to help them in that capacity too, to make them feel welcomed here and to make them feel like, okay, your home is here now, and there are people here like yourself that will help you through that process. Have you been able to develop any deeper relationships with some of those individuals, or is it more like you're just training and then they go on their path?
Usually it's more so I'm just a teacher. I try to keep it strictly professional. Once they graduate or get their GED, some of them I've kept up with. Like I see like, hey, good job, they got into school. They sort of keep me updated. And a lot of times it is kind of interpersonal because, you're teaching them all the time. So you see their family, especially during the pandemic. So I'm teaching them and they're on Zoom. And, the kids are in the way. They're like, hold on, my husband just got home. So I get to see their family, talk to their kids sometimes when they get in the camera. And even during the pandemic, I had to drop off books and maybe a laptop to students' houses. So I got to meet their family. Like, hey, he's been helping me with math for the last year or so. So it does get a mix of interpersonal, and I like that.
I love your passion, Barry. And it seems to me that you have so many dreams. So what's next? You mentioned about you want to complete college, possibly go into the Air Force, but what's next on your list?
I'm really just, in my mindset now, is just doing the field work of doing good things and, pardon me, doing good things and just basically whatever. I think I have a general idea, but it's really just making sure I'm in the position to do those things. So that's why I want to get my bachelor's degree, continue doing good work in the community, so that the next idea, maybe grand idea, we'll see, is that I can do it correctly, do it the right way. I have some footnotes, but I learned that I kind of pocket a lot of my goals and just show. Usually when I tell people, it's when I've already either done it or I'm like this close to where to say it. I usually show rather than say, I'm going to do this. Usually, I've done this, look.
Yeah. So what is a piece of wisdom that you would give to somebody who maybe is going through a season, a hard time, a tough time, is experiencing something that they feel like they're not going to be able to get through? How would you encourage them?
I've spoken to people who are like, they're pretty down off and I've felt it too, like where the world is just too much. And I tell them, you can cry, you can scream, you can holler, you can complain, you can even lose it, stumble, go sideways. You can do everything you need to do to get it out your system. But even my students, they've been on the verge of giving up, like, I can't do this. I failed 3 times already. Enough. And I always tell them, get it out your system, but always have this passion of keep going forward, no matter what. And there's really a value in not giving up, because you can get knocked down, beat up, just lose your motivation completely. But when you don't give up, you pretty much, there's always a puncher's chance. And just how life, through sheer chance, sometimes can beat you up and beat you down. through sheer chance, you're going to have an opportunity.
Yeah.
There is going to be a door there. And you have to make sure that if you give up and turn around, you won't even see it.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that no matter how beat up you are, how downtrodden you are, that you're ready to grab that door when it's presented to you.
Yeah, that's amazing, because we all experience those seasons. And it's remembering during that time or that season when you feel like I just can't move forward or move on, and say, you know, there's a purpose for this. There's a reason why this is happening in my life right now. And how can I use this to launch myself, one, out of this situation, out of where I'm at, and two, into my next season, which is going to be greater, bigger. I mean, just look at yourself. You know, you can attest to this, that, okay, I was in that moment, but now look at where I'm at. And this is, looking back, certainly nothing that you would wish anyone would go through, but you've learned some lessons from it, and you're actually able to apply it in your life, which is commendable. So
just leaning on what you just said, it's easy to get wrapped up in the present or now, and everything's hectic for you right now. But I think sometimes just thinking of your future self, of like, you know what, I will sacrifice or go through this me now for the future me, that I always try to strive that Barry 5 years from now will always be very thankful what Barry now did. I don't want to be in a situation where 5 years from now I'm like, why? And I think that's kind of lended some wisdom to me over the course of years, even with bumps and bruises, that always thinking of your future self. And so even when life is overwhelming, you know that you're doing it for someone, some person. It's just you in the future. Yeah. And if people with families, for me, I had a family, or I still do have a family. I have my sister, my brother, my mom, and I also always wanted to be able to know that if they were ever to go through that situation, maybe I could step in for them. Yeah. And I think that is kind of what motivates you. You just kind of have to find your why. What's your motivation? Yeah. Good or bad, because sometimes, you have negative thoughts, but I always try to use those for good reasons. Like, so if I was upset about my situation, I wouldn't just pout and sit still. I would use that because, it's going to come. So with that negative emotions, I would try to take that and use it for something productive rather than just to be upset.
Yeah. Yeah. And look at it as a gift. Sometimes it doesn't feel like a gift, but at the time it is a gift, because it's instilling those lessons in you that you are now able to give back to others. And that has to be truly rewarding. That's commendable. So, what do you like to do for fun?
Yeah. Well, judo, okay. And in school, night classes take up the bulk of my time. But even then, I like to be outdoorsy, kayak. I capsized in the Susquehanna earlier this year, and that was a whole journey. But I like doing random things. I go to the range, I do archery, and I'm very mediocre at the keyboard. So I just get into random hobbies, but really just anything social with my friends I like to do. And that's kind of the bulk of my time between that and volunteering. I try to have regular activities, but I also like to go on little excursions of just adventures.
Awesome. Yeah, and we have to share this story. So you gave a gift to your little sister. She's 6 years old.
Yes.
Recently, you took her to see which movie?
Barbie. And Barbie was quite a unique experience because, it's not just about the Barbie movie. Everyone in the family has to wear pink. We got to play certain songs on the drive there. The only thing that shocked me was I learned it really wasn't a kids movie. So I was like, someplace I'm like, Caitlin, just look away. Or my jaw just drops. I'm like, whoa. But I think I should have maybe looked into it, because they were saying it's not strictly for kids, but it was a good experience. Me and my sister, we love hanging out all the time. Usually on Sundays, I'll take her to church, and then afterwards I'll teach her math. Yeah. I'm sure she hates me for it. But I try to make math a good time. We'll have tea time. We'll do the cha-cha slide after we do all our problems. Yeah. So it's usually a really good experience.
Well, this has been a wonderful gift that you have given to all of us today by sharing your story. And we truly appreciate that. And I know I personally, and I'm sure a lot of others, are looking forward to just watching you continue to grow and enjoy life. And see what happens next. So we are very excited for you and so super proud of you. So thank you for your time today. So.